Alright, well, we're off the interstate now and kind of working down some little smaller country roads, so I'm sure Siri is going to be telling me, different times to turn and whatnot. So just, like I said, as I get out on these roads, I just kind of, ramble with some thoughts and figure I'd put some in front of a camera, and maybe I'll bore you to death, maybe you'll learn something, maybe I'll figure something insightful out as we drive down the road and just chat back and forth. So we talked about how the YouTube channel got started and how we got started, the Halverson wood products lineup, the different things there, price and that type of stuff. One product that we brought on next, it seems every year we add something to the lineup, and we added a black splitter. And the black splitter is basically a hydraulic cone splitter that splits the oversized wood down to something manageable. Whether you have a stump that's out of the ground and you can't get it into the back of the dump truck, you can use the cone splitter to size it down to something that you can actually get in the truck and then dump it back out of the tailgate. The recycling centers like it because if somebody drops off some really huge stuff, even these $500,000, horizontal grinders, even they have their restrictions as far as what can go into them. So it's really useful tool. We kind of use it in firewood production, as a dynamic duo between a wood processor and the black splitter. That's my dynamic duo. That's my peanut butter and jelly, my Robin and Batman, type of scenario. Because I don't care what processor you buy, whether it's a Halverson, a Brute Force, a different name brand, trailer mounted processor, even the big 60-inch slasher saws, they have their limitations. If it says it'll cut, 24-inch or even 30-inch, like my big Brute Force 24 machine, what do you do at 32 inches? If you can cut 30, what do you even do at 31 inches? You've spent that much money. You've spent that much money, but what do? You got to have another tool in your toolbox, otherwise you're cutting it down into rounds, you're handling everything, and I really work hard to be lazy, and it's just one of those things that I'd rather invest into hydraulics. I'm a one-man band. We've got 5 kids. They're always helping out, but, they have school and chores and different things, and I'm normally up doing the firewood stuff by myself, and I don't feel like owning a chainsaw that has a 4-foot bar to go through something stupid huge. I don't want to have to maneuver hero-sized rounds up on it with splitter. I would rather crack that piece of wood lengthwise, and that's where the black splitter comes in. Now you can run these black splitters on anything from like a little mini Vermeer, a Bobcat MT, small stuff, but I like the model. It's an S2 800. It has the widest variety of power unit capabilities. Basically, it's like 16 gallons a minute, and I like to get somewhere around like 3,000 psi. It seems the psi is what keeps the cone working its way into the wood. So we have some video that's going to be coming out. We have a Bobcat E60 mini excavator. Well, it's not quite so mini because it's a 14,000 pound machine, so it's it'll move the big wood. We can pick up, whole rounds that are big, or whole tree sections that are big, rather, and split them down. I do like running it on an excavator because it's an extension of your own arm. You can sit in one spot, have the oversized pile, at your back, corkscrew it in the center of the piece of wood, pick up that piece of wood, pivot it, just like you had a rotator and a grapple on, bring it down on the other side, and if you bring it into the backfill blade, that way it gives you something solid to pull against. Take the screw and go all the way out to the end and start cracking from the farthest end, and then just work the log towards the backfill blade. And what this does, as the wood will split apart, you can just take that cone and just as it's splitting and moving, and just keep bringing the cone right to the backfill blade. And just as you're working your way through, you're breaking all the little strands that are in there, so it'll literally fall off, in halves. and typically we just quarter something down unless it's really, really big. You know, my record with the black splitter is about an 84-inch piece of maple. Was something that my neighbor had dropped off at his house, and he just didn't know what to do with it, so we brought I think it was a Komatsu PC35 home with our first black splitter on it, and it had 5 big leaders to it. We just kind of worked each leader and rolled it over and just kept going, just get a crack and then just chase that crack until a piece of wood would pop off of it. And you know, there was probably a full cord just in, you know, in this one big round section of tree. It was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet tall, but it was just huge. I don't even know how it got dumped off at his house, but just it was a great example of what the black splitter could really do, because I don't care what processor you have, you are not putting something that big across a processor. So you know, whether you're a recycling center looking to break down the big stuff, a firewood producer just looking to have some smaller, more manageable pieces of firewood, you know, I would rather take something that's 36 inches around, crack it in half, then crack those halves down into quarters, and then even if you had to cut it, you know, into a round, then you would have the option of picking up a lot smaller piece using a standard size chainsaw, not like a big 661 or an 880. And yes, I'm a Steel fan. I've run one since I was a teenager, and they've always treated me well. I know there's some Husky guys out there, and nothing against a Husky saw, but it's just, I'm a Steel guy. So yes, that's one of my flaws in life if you're not a Steel person. So anyway, I digress. But yeah, the black splitter just, it takes the unusable and makes it usable. You know, we found it because with the Halversons, that 120 likes the 14 to 16 inch wood, the 140 likes a 16 to an 18 inch piece of wood. So when it comes down to the grabber arm, if you can't get a good bite and a hold on it, it'll just skid past. So that's why I say those sizing recommendations. We've done bigger, but if you start with those numbers in mind, you won't be disappointed. So that's when we found the black splitter. I had probably 8 to 10 cords worth of just oversized stuff that we had, that I didn't want to just throw it over the embankment. I didn't want to have to pay to get rid of it, and I knew there was a lot of firewood in there, and I didn't want to waste it. So that's when we found the black splitter and brought that home and started cycling some stuff down. You know, again, some of the early videos kind of crude, but it's a little bit further down. Just click that video tab and just scroll down. You can see us cracking that. I really enjoy doing the black splitter demonstrations in the wintertime, because that cone will get nice and warm. You can see some of the steam coming off of the cone. You get a little bit of snow kind of mixed into it, and just the wood, when it's frozen and just cold, it cracks and pops. And if I've got the camera in a good spot, you can really hear it. It's just I'll run it with the windows open on the excavator just so I can hear the wood splitting apart. It's so cool. I know we've got to do some new video to kind of show this off, and but that's the black splitter in a nutshell. I think we've been selling that one. Again, don't hold me to a price, please, because the whole COVID stuff, the industry's changing, and we're always getting price increases or percentages for overcharge and that kind of thing. But you know, right now, just the black splitter itself, the gray part of the power unit where the gearbox is, and the cone, will ship for about, I think it's $7,500, and I'll eat the freight. You know, if you say you saw this YouTube video, and I'll do what I can to keep the prices consistent. You know, my different manufacturers have been working with us, you know, back and forth. But yeah, it's $7,500, free shipping, and that's for the power head and the cone. Now, when it comes down to mounting the black splitter on something that you have, we do a generic skid steer plate for a few bucks. We can do the hoses and the couplers. When it gets into the excavator machines, that's when it gets a little bit more detailed, because every machine, that stick width, you know, where the actual the boom arm goes into the bucket, you know, there's different widths there, there's different pin diameter sizes, so we really need to know what you're going to put it on, and we can have something fabricated. Just me being honest, go find like an old trenching bucket or buy a new trenching bucket and just cut the top of it off, and then you would have the pins and the bracket that you need to mount this. We've had some guys just take an old bucket that they don't use and just weld the black splitter's, you know, blank mounting plate right to the bottom of that bucket. it's pretty simple. Not sure if that's the angle you want to go on, but you know, our machine has that Bobcat exchange system on it, so we were able to you know, just order up a bracket off of eBay. You know, some of these newer machines, there's not a whole lot of stuff out there for them yet, so it's kind of tough. But you know, we can have something fabricated, you know, to fit your needs. You just got to tell me what it goes on. We'll send you a little diagram out so you can kind of get some measurements and confirm, you know, what it is, so we can build it to spec. But yeah, I think pretty much this session is going to be, you know, drawn an end here. But that's our black splitter. I think I've tried to cover everything, you know, just quickly on it. But there are a couple different models. We do an S1. It's a little bit smaller machine based, you know, kind of built for the mini skid steers and regular skid steers, small excavators. There's an S2 600. It's got a pretty decent range as far as what it fits on, but like I said, my favorite one is the S2 800, and it'll fit on anything from a mini skid up to an excavator that weighs, you know, right around, you know, 12 tons, 24,000 pounds. So if you think about build quality, think about a 24,000 pound machine pulling and gripping on a cone. So it's a chromoly steel, you know, cone. It does have a replaceable tip, but you know, a 24,000 pound excavator can really put some punishing damage on something, and these things are, you know, kind of built to withstand that. So just think about that, you know, and the price point and the bearing in that thing is just massive. To take that kind of abuse from a bigger machine, you know, we're running it on a 14,000 pound machine, and you know, we're picking up, you know, wood that's 30 inches around by 10 or 12 feet in length, and it's just dangling off of that, bring it over, pinwheel it, you know, bring it to the backfill blade like I mentioned, and just outstanding piece. And it's definitely a handy tool to have in the toolbox, you know, whether you can use it to, you know, split up the big, you know, the big rounds, the hero wood, or our method of just, you know, cracking the wood lengthwise so the processor can eat it. But the black splitter does make the unusable into usable, and you can always give us a phone call. It's 833-SPLITTER, 833-775-4887. You can also email me. It's sales@shaverequipment.com. And I've missed 2 phone calls now on that very same number, so we're going to call this guy back and then do another edition. But again, I am AJ Shaver with Shaver Sales. Hope to hear from you soon. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks for watching.